The story up until now. Throughout our marriage my wife, Sue, had secret affairs. I had found out that I was not the father of our daughter. In desperation, I had taken a job in the west of the country and had only agreed to take Sue with me on condition that her cheating behavior cease. We had decided to have another child. I had agreed believing that this may be what was required for Sue to change her ways. When I caught Sue cheating once more I put her on the plane back east to live with her parents. Sue had lost her baby. We worked out that I was not the father. I returned to the West to find that not only were Debbie and Gloria having problems with their relationship but Sherry and Marg were also struggling. Having spent some time with Debbie and Gloria trying to pull them back together I returned home to find Marg in the doldrums. I discussed it with Gay, who agreed to stay away from Sherry to give their relationship time to recover. Gay was spending quite a lot of time with me. Gay had not told me that she had said anything to Al, but because we did not flaunt our relationship it was reasonable to assume that she had spoken to him about it. The story continues. Time passed quickly. I was very involved in my work. My employers expected a lot from me and I must have been meeting their expectations because the size of the pay rise that they gave me not only astonished me but I had not expected anything to occur at least for 12 months. One of the key focus areas for me on the job was to make sure that there was at least one person trained up to replace anyone who chose to leave or who stood to be promoted. That was one area that I had recognized as a weakness in the organization. What this did was it gave people incentive to do better knowing that they stood a chance of moving up through the organization. For my position, I trained 2 replacements. I favored neither. I simply wanted to make sure that if I was to move on then my boss would have a choice. He seemed to like the idea and started to apply the same concept himself by pulling me in to start training me for his position. This I had not anticipated. I was not interested in moving higher up the ladder because I liked dealing with people on the shop floor and I knew that the boss's position would take me away from that. I also knew that to tell him would mean that my position would become more insecure. I had no option but to play along. At home, things were settling down for Marg and Sherry. They appeared to be quite happy. Marg had given up on the idea that she and I would run away together once again. Gay was on good terms with everyone in the house but refused to show any attention to Sherry unless Marg was not only agreeable but also present. She told me that when she was with them she focused attention more on Marg than on Sherry. I was happy to hear that. Debbie and Gloria's pregnancies were approaching full term, especially so Debbie. I had asked her to give up her household duties but she flatly refused, saying that she would be bored to death staying at home all the time. I were in bed asleep when the phone rang. I woke and I cursed, saying, "Can't those blokes at work handle things?" I was accustomed to getting late night calls where I was told that they had a problem, had solved it but thought that I should be informed, which of course is true. I was trying to teach them that I should only be informed immediately of crisis situations, serious safety issues or problems they couldn't solve, but to leave the information calls until after 6 a.m. I was wrong, it was Gloria. She's had a little boy. He's a little beauty. He looks just like you, bald as a badger, big nose, and fat cheeks. How's Debbie? She's fine. She's very tired but okay. We'll be there in half an hour. I didn't call earlier because I knew you had to work in the morning. Stuff work. This is more important. We're on our way. I'll let the other girls know. I've got a few cigars that I've put away for just this occasion. I woke Marg and Sherry up. The 4 of us headed for the hospital. By the time that we arrived, Debbie was asleep. Gloria and the nurse took us to see the baby. "Goy's the second," Gloria said. "Yes, he does have a few of my features." "Debbie has made my day, and yours as well, I assume, Gloria." "No, you don't understand. Debbie and I talked about it and decided that we would call the baby Goys if it was a boy. Debbie kept telling me that she felt it was a boy but she wouldn't let them do check. She wanted it to be a surprise. I'm honored. I didn't expect that. Debbie told me that she thought she was going to have a boy but I assumed she had them check and that's how she knew. Let's go outside and have a cigar. What's it feel like to be a father, Gloria? I guess that's right. I hadn't thought about it. I guess I am a dad, aren't I? Actually, we are both dads tonight. I took her in my arms, held her tight. Everyone laughed and sucked on their cigars. I had bought a bottle of red wine with me and glasses. I also had a bottle of sparkling water for Gloria, knowing she would never drink alcohol because of the risk, though small, to her child. I was so very proud to help bring such joy to the lives of these two wonderful women. We spent the hours till dawn with each other, chatting and telling tales, many of them a little tall to be totally true. Debbie woke up long enough for us to congratulate her. Not long after, the nurses evicted us and told us to go home and get some sleep, but that was not going to happen. We were all drunk, not from alcohol but from the joy of it all. I arrived home and called work to ask one of my deputies to stand in for me for the day. Marg and Sherry had headed off to their bedroom by the time I came off the phone. Gay and I then headed off to my bed. We just looked into each other's eyes, not speaking. We were becoming very close, much closer as time passed. I could easily fall in love with you, Goys. Don't go all la on me, Gay. We are very good friends. I trust you more than I trust any other person alive today, and I love being with you. We are friends with benefits. When I need someone I can trust to talk to, I know you are there for me, and I hope you feel the same. I love being with you, talking to you and listening to you, but I'm not in love with you. Well, not yet anyway. I know, but all I'm saying is it could happen. I'm still married and you have a husband sitting at home wondering what you are up to, no doubt. Nope, you're wrong. Okay, why am I wrong? Al left me last month. He's moved in with his new girlfriend. He has asked me to either sell the house or rent it out so that we can share in it as an investment. Oh, I'm sorry, Gay. You should have said something. You must be upset. Wrong again, I'm relieved. I haven't had a marriage for years. I was just hanging on, giving him time to realize what I've known for years. Al was just like having a boarder living with me that didn't pay rent, and that's the way it has been for a good many years. So what are you going to do? Is the offer of a room still available to me? Yes, of course, it is. When would you like to move in? I already have. I bought all my personal things over during the last few weeks while you were at work. I'm just looking for your agreement, that's all. Debbie has shown me what room you told her I could have when we had this conversation a while back. It seems that you asked her to set the room up for me and she did. So your gear has been moved into the granny flat out back. Yep, that's right, but I expect that I might not use the bed very often if you agree. It's your flat, so you make the decisions. She smiled and continued, you are slow, aren't you? That could be interesting if I decide to bring another woman home. All you would need to do is ring ahead and I'll move out for the night. If you want me to, that is. I'd be quite happy to introduce her with you if she is up for it, that is. That could be interesting. You're very, very special, Goys. I wish I had met you rather than Al all those years ago. Never look over your shoulder, mate. The future is ahead of us, not behind. When you look back you see the bad things and that overcomes all the good things. We all make mistakes. We look at them long enough to learn from them and then move on. It's called survival. 2 days later Gay announced that her friend Julie was coming over for the night. She said her husband was out of town and she gets frightened on her own and needed company. I saw the look on Sherry and Marg's faces. Later, they told me that they were surprised because Julie's husband was away at least 2 and often 3 days a week. She had told everyone that she enjoyed the peace being home by herself. Knowing that it was obvious to them that something unusual was going on, Julie was indeed a very attractive lady. I, like many men, have never liked women who overdo their makeup. It appeared that Julie seemed to understand that. I wondered how much Gay had told Julie about me. I opened the door to her. She smiled and flashed her eyes quickly at me and then lowered them. I instantly thought of Lynn, who had made an art form of flashing her eyes at men. At least I thought men, but maybe it was just me. I immediately remembered that I must ring Lynn. Julie moved towards me, and thinking she was about to enter the house, I stepped to the side for her to pass. She kept coming towards me and without warning put her arms around my neck and kissed me. For a moment in shock, I didn't respond. Once the immediate shock passed, I put my arms around her and kissed her back. When we parted, she said, "Hi, I'm Julie, thanks. I really appreciate what you and Gay are doing for me. You won't be disappointed, I promise." I was once again taken by surprise and a bit lost for words. The only thing I could think to say was, "That's okay. You're welcome." A voice behind me brought me back. It was Marg. "Come on, introduce us to your new girlfriend, Goys." I introduced Julie to Marg and then to Sherry, all the time thinking, "Please don't make a scene, Marg." I was deadly frightened that Marg would get jealous and start an argument with Julie or snap me up in a jealous rage. I had misjudged Marg. She acted as host and pandered to Julie's every need. The night was off to a flying start. Gay, Julie and I continued drinking and talking, waiting for Sherry and Marg to go off to bed, but it appeared that they were happy to sit up all night if necessary to entertain our new guest. As the hours rolled on, it suddenly occurred to me that Sherry and Marg found Julie just as attractive as I did. That was why they were sticking around. It hadn't occurred to me up until this point that this was one of the reasons that we all got on so well together. We all had similar interests. We all felt just as randy when we saw a beautiful lady. This was the first time that I got an insight into what our relationship was really about. Lynn had actually tried to explain that very thing to me about Marg some years before, and Marg had explained it about Lynn, but I had not quite understood it at the time. Marg had explained about Lynn's masculine side that dominated occasionally and that sometimes she felt the same. Was this the reason that Marg never seemed to get jealous when I showed other women attention? Yes, it all made sense now. Eventually, I had to take control of the situation. "Julie, I need to get off to bed shortly, so I'll show you to your quarters for the night. You might have to use the second bedroom in the granny flat next to Gay if that's okay with you." "Yes, that's fine. I'm overdue to turn in anyway. How about you, Gay?" "Me too, it's been a long day for us." "Good night, girls." Marg and Sherry looked at each other and Sherry responded, "We'd better turn in as well. We need to work in the morning." We said our good nights and the three of us moved out to the granny flat. We talked for several hours. Then, can you guess what happens next? I awoke to my phone ringing. When I answered, it was Sue. "The kids and I will be flying in tomorrow morning. Pick us up from the airport at 8 a.m. I'm happy with the kids coming back, but why are you coming with them?" "I'm coming home. Don't you remember? I sent you away because you wouldn't respect me or my wishes. I would rather you stayed where you are for now. I'm coming home and you can't stop me. I've talked to my lawyer and I have certain rights." "So you have rights but I don't. Is that it?" "I'm not going to argue with you. I'm coming home. That's it." "Okay. I'll pick you up, but you need to understand that I don't live alone anymore. There are 4 of us living here plus 2 kids. Didn't take Marg long to move in, did it? Marg and her partner live with us with her kids. Gay is also here with us. Marg and her partner, that's a joke. The only partner she wants is you. Huh, she probably hasn't had a decent fuck in her life. Why else would she be wasting time with a like yours? I'll pick the kids up at 8 a.m. Don't waste our time coming over with them because you haven't changed and you never will." I hung up the phone and thumped the wall. When I turned around, Julie's mouth was gaping open. I smiled and she smiled back. Who was that? That young lady was my beautiful loving wife. She thinks she is coming over to move in again, but I've got other ideas. I gathered that. What caused you to split up with her? I was too stressed to answer. Gay came back with, she suffers from an addiction. She's addicted, cheating her husband. I just shook my head and wandered off to make breakfast coffee. I wondered what the future held for Julie. She didn't seem to have a great deal of concern for her husband, who obviously loved her because he was willing to let her adultery, but on condition that she does not tell him about them. The next morning I was at the airport an hour before the plane landed. I needed that time alone to think about how to handle life on Sue's return. I had organized one of the rooms for Sue. I knew for sure that I did not want to continue our relationship the way it had been, with me forever wondering who she was each day while I was at work. Unfortunately, although my mind wanted to totally reject her, my heart had actually skipped a beat when she said she was coming back. I wondered how much pain and suffering I had to endure before my heart caught up to my mind. I watched the plane land, taxi up, and a few minutes later my kids appeared through the gateway. I took them both in my arms and kissed them and just held them. They obviously felt the same, because even when I went to stand they held me tightly. As we broke our hug, I turned and there she was. We collected their luggage, loaded it into the car, and made our way back home. Throughout the ordeal, she had not spoken one word to me nor me to her. I had nothing worthwhile to say, and I guess she thought the same way. I was not looking forward to walking into the house with the girls sitting in the lounge drinking their coffee and chatting away as they usually did at this time on a Saturday morning. I imagined that sparks could possibly fly when my wife saw how settled in they had become. I knew that not only did I have to contend with a broken marriage, but I also knew that Marg was about to abandon ship. Although I had avoided being with Marg so that she could mend her relationship with Sherry, I knew that I still cared for her and liked to have her around. She had made it abundantly clear that if Sue came back she would move on with her life. I assumed that if Marg went then Sherry would go as well. I had become good friends with Sherry over recent times and knew that I would miss her if she left. I was also worried about Gay. She had settled in as if she belonged with us. She was always good-humored and helped everyone. She was slightly older than the other girls and they seemed to look up to her for advice in times of need. She was easy to talk to and was one of the few people who understood why I had put up with Sue's cheating for so long. If she left I would feel very lonely in my big house with Sue. My life seemed to be coming apart at the seams. I needed a drink, a big one.